The signal appeared where none should be. Commander Zask of the Orion Imperial Scout vessel Vigilant Crest frowned at the scanner readings, mandibles clicking in quiet agitation. Sector 9Ka was barren, politically insignificant, devoid of resource-rich planets, and far from any established trade routes. It served as little more than a navigational reference point for cargo ships, passing through to more valuable destinations. "Check it again," he ordered, voice taut. Lieutenant Vex adjusted the long-range sensors, recalibrating the detection array. "Confirmed, Commander. Signal patterns match old Terran encryption protocols. Strength suggests a vessel of significant size." Zask's compound eyes narrowed. The political landscape of the galaxy had been simmering with unspoken tensions for decades. The major empires, Orion, Valen, Granari, maintained an uneasy equilibrium, each too wary of catastrophic losses to initiate open conflict. Humanity, despite being a relatively young spacefaring species, had carved out their position with unsettling efficiency after the Proxima incident. No one spoke openly about it, but every military tactician in the galaxy studied what happened when the combined Mykoth fleet had attempted to blockade Sol's closest neighboring star system. "A Terran vessel," Zask murmured. "Run identification protocols against the Galactic Registry." Vex worked quickly, mandibles tight against his face. "No match, Commander. The signal contains identifiers reminiscent of older human military vessels, but it doesn't correspond to any registered human ship in current service." That was impossible. The Galactic Council's Treaty of Vexor required all interstellar vessels to maintain updated registry beacons. Operating without proper identification was grounds for immediate boarding and inspection, or destruction if resistance was met. "Perhaps it's a derelict," offered Strategic Officer Tenna, the only non-Orion aboard. Her translucent skin pulsed with blue light as she approached the command console. The Luminari were famous for their diplomatic prowess. Automated systems still functioning on a long-abandoned ship. Zask wished he could believe that. But derelicts didn't engage in active signal encryption. Derelicts didn't deliberately position themselves in sectors where routine patrols were rare. And derelicts certainly didn't use the specific bandwidth frequencies he was now observing. Frequencies that hadn't been in use since the Shadow War 30 years ago. "Send the coordinates to High Command," Zask decided. "Mark as Priority Level Alpha. And alter our course. We're going to take a closer look." As the Vigilant Crest changed trajectory, Zask called up historical files on his private terminal. Images appeared, smoldering ruins of once mighty Mykoth warships, the cracked planetary shield of Helvex Prime, and endless debris fields where the pride of the Mykoth fleet had once stood. All because they had underestimated human ingenuity and determination. They checked the sector twice, he would later report to his superiors. A human ship wasn't supposed to be there. His intuition told him that long-buried secrets were about to resurface. The galaxy had enjoyed relative peace for 3 decades, but peace built upon foundations of fear was never truly stable. The vast emptiness of space surrounding Sector 9Ka would not remain empty for long. The Orion High Council chamber hummed with tense conversation. Admiral Zexkar, veteran of 2 interspecies conflicts and renowned strategist, stood before the projected star map, his exoskeletal fingers tracing the highlighted Sector 9Ka. "The implications are concerning," he addressed the 7 council members. "If humans have established an unauthorized presence in this sector, we must consider the strategic purpose." Counselor Thraz, eldest among them, leaned forward. "The Terrans agreed to restricted expansion after we negotiated the Antares Accord. This would constitute a direct violation." "Perhaps," interjected Counselor Vexlier, head of intelligence operations, "but let us not rush to accusations. The humans have been remarkably disciplined since establishing their defensive perimeter. This isolated ship might be operating without official sanction." The chamber darkened as Admiral Zexkar activated the tactical display. An image of the mysterious vessel materialized, sleek and angular with distinctive human design principles, but bearing unfamiliar modifications and weapon ports disguised as sensor arrays. This is no diplomatic vessel or trade ship, Zexkar continued. The energy signature suggests military-grade shielding. Its presence in an empty sector, combined with the use of outdated encryption, suggests clandestine operations. The council members exchanged uneasy glances. All remembered the Proxima incident, how the humans had turned a supposedly defensive position into a devastating counterattack that had effectively ended Mykoth dominance in a single brutal campaign. We must investigate with caution, decided Chairman Krostal finally. Assemble a specialized task force. Multiple species representation will ensure neutrality. Approach, identify, but do not engage unless provoked. The Admiral nodded grimly. And if they refuse inspection as required by interspecies law? The chairman's mandibles clicked once, a gesture of finality. Then we will know their intentions are not peaceful. Prepare contingency protocols accordingly. As the council adjourned, Vexlier lingered beside the holographic projection. He studied the mysterious vessel's outline, noting the peculiar configuration of its aft section. Something about it seemed familiar, like a half-remembered nightmare. The intelligence officer's compound eyes narrowed as recognition dawned. Computer, he whispered, compare vessel configuration with historical records of the Terran Ghost Fleet, specifically Task Force Omega. The computer processed silently for a moment before displaying a chilling match probability, 89.7%. If this was indeed a vessel from Task Force Omega, the infamous human strike force that had disappeared during the Shadow War's final days, then its presence couldn't be coincidental. Those ships had been carrying experimental technology so dangerous that even the humans had classified their own mission parameters. Vexlier's exoskeleton paled slightly. The galaxy might be on the precipice of something far worse than a minor treaty violation. Captain Eliana Vasquez stood motionless before the obsidian viewport of the TSV Phantom Reach. Stars glittered against the eternal night, unchanged and uncaring about the burdens of those who traveled among them. Behind her, the bridge hummed with quiet efficiency as her crew maintained their stations with practiced discipline. Orion scout vessel has departed the sector, Captain, reported Lieutenant Commander Reyes from Tactical. Their trajectory suggests they're returning to their command post in the Antares system. Vasquez didn't turn. They'll be back, and they won't be alone next time. She had known this day would eventually come. For 6 months, the Phantom Reach had maintained position in this unremarkable sector, far from established patrol routes, conducting its work in silence. The mission parameters had been clear. Absolute secrecy was paramount. Now that secrecy was compromised. Status of the Corps? She asked, her voice betraying none of the concern she felt. Science Officer Dr. Alden looked up from his console. Stabilization at 73%. The quantum matrix is still aligning. We need at least another 2 weeks before transport becomes viable. Vasquez finally turned, her weathered face set in grim determination. She was older than most active captains, a relic of a more violent era in human expansion. The scars along her jawline and the artificial gleam in her left eye spoke of battles most modern officers had only read about in historical texts. We may not have 2 weeks, she stated flatly. Initiate operating protocol Sierra 9. All non-essential systems dark. Prepare defensive countermeasures, but maintain passive stance. Her executive officer, Commander Wei, approached with a data tablet. Captain, perhaps we should contact Earth Command. Request support vessels. Vasquez took the tablet, reviewing the sensor logs of the Orion scout ship's scan patterns. No. The moment we break communication silence, every listening post in 3 sectors will triangulate our position. The Catalyst Core is too important. She didn't need to elaborate. Everyone aboard the Phantom Reach understood their mission's significance. 30 years ago, during the desperate final days of the Shadow War, humanity had discovered an ancient artifact of immense power deep within contested space. Rather than risk it falling into enemy hands during the chaos of war, Task Force Omega had been dispatched to secure and study it far from prying eyes. Then Task Force Omega had vanished, presumed destroyed. Until 5 years ago, when long-dormant emergency protocols had activated on Earth, revealing the truth. They had gone into hiding, carrying their dangerous cargo to the farthest reaches of unexplored space. The technological advancements derived from studying the core had revolutionized human understanding of physics, but its full potential remained untapped and terrifying. Now, as Captain Vasquez studied the tactical display showing the departed Orion vessel, she knew the decades of secrecy were ending. They'll return with a diplomatic envoy first, she told her officers. Standard procedure would demand verification of our registry and purpose. When we refuse, and we will refuse, they'll escalate. We're a single ship, Captain, Wei reminded her quietly. Even with our advanced systems, we can't hold off a determined multi-species task force. Vasquez's artificial eye glinted in the dim light of the bridge. We don't need to defeat them, Commander. We only need to hold them off long enough to complete the core stabilization. She moved to the center of the bridge, her voice strengthening as she addressed the entire crew. Every person aboard this vessel was chosen for this mission because of your exceptional abilities and unwavering loyalty. You all understand what the Catalyst Core represents. Power enough to reshape the balance of the galaxy. Not as a weapon, but as the key to technologies beyond our current comprehension. She paused, looking at each officer in turn. We're not here to start a war. We're here to prevent one. If any other species gains control of the core before we understand how to properly contain its energy, the results could be catastrophic. Remember your oaths. We stand as guardians, not conquerors. Dr. Alden spoke from his station, his voice tense. Captain, I've detected unusual disturbances in the quantum field surrounding the core. The Orion scans may have disturbed its dormant state. Vasquez's expression hardened. Increase containment protocols and prepare for company. Our solitude is about to come to an end. The task force assembled by the Galactic Council represented a rare show of cooperative military effort. 3 vessels of different origins converged on Sector 9Ka, each carrying specialists in various fields, diplomatic envoys, technical analysts, and quietly, special forces trained in boarding operations. The Orion cruiser Relentless Oracle led the formation, flanked by a sleek Valan diplomatic vessel and a heavily armed Granari security ship. On the bridge of the Relentless Oracle, Commander Tavik, a decorated veteran of border skirmishes with the Rax Collective, studied the sensor readings with growing unease. The human vessel is employing advanced masking technology, he informed the assembled representatives. We're only receiving intermittent energy signatures. Ambassador Selana of the Valan Confederacy frowned, her iridescent scales shifting color with her concern. This behavior is highly irregular for Terran diplomatic protocol. Their ships typically broadcast clear identification markers. Because this isn't a diplomatic vessel, growled Security Chief Gorvin of the Granari Protectorate. His massive frame dwarfed the other species present, thick-plated skin bearing ceremonial clan markings. The humans are testing boundaries again, seeing how far they can push before we respond. Commander Tavik manipulated the holographic display, highlighting their approach vector. We will maintain standard diplomatic protocols. Open hailing frequencies on all recognized channels, including outdated human military bands. As the small fleet approached the coordinates, the human vessel finally came into visual range. The assembled aliens studied it with professional interest. Its design was unmistakably human in origin, but with modifications that suggested extensive field adaptations. Weapon emplacements were visible but inactive, giving the impression of a vessel prepared for conflict but not actively seeking it. Transmitting now, announced the communications officer. The standard diplomatic greeting echoed across the void, repeating on multiple frequencies. Attention, unidentified human vessel. This is a Galactic Council inspection team operating under Statute 27 of the Interstellar Vessel Registry Act. Please identify yourself and state your purpose in this sector. Silence stretched uncomfortably. Ambassador Solana's scales shifted to a deeper blue. a sign of deepening concern among her species. "Try again," ordered Commander Tavik. Add that failure to respond constitutes a violation of interspecies navigation treaties. Another transmission. Another silence. Then, abruptly, a response came. Text only, no visual communication. "This sector falls under Terran priority jurisdiction. Maintain distance." Ambassador Solana's translator implant processed the message instantly. Priority jurisdiction? There are no registered human claims in this region of space. Security Chief Gorvin's predatory eyes narrowed. "Send in reconnaissance drones. If they won't communicate properly, we'll gather information our way." Commander Tavik hesitated only briefly before nodding. "Deploy surveillance drones, passive systems only. Maintain our distance as requested for now." 3 small drones detached from the Orion vessel, their propulsion systems barely registering on standard sensors as they moved in a wide arc toward the human ship. They transmitted visual data in real time, providing the task force with detailed imagery of the vessel's exterior. "Those are battle scars," noted Gorvin, pointing to distinctive patterns along the hull. "Recent ones, too. This ship has engaged in combat within the past standard year." Ambassador Solana studied the markings visible on the ship's hull. "Those insignia, they're not consistent with current Terran military designations." Commander Tavik enhanced the image, focusing on a faded emblem near what appeared to be the vessel's command section. His mandibles clicked in sudden recognition. "That's the emblem of Task Force Omega," he said quietly. "A human special operations group believed destroyed during the Shadow War." The implications sent a ripple of tension through the assembled representatives. Task Force Omega was carrying experimental weapons technology when they disappeared, Ambassador Solana recalled. Technology rumored to have been reverse-engineered from ancient artifacts. Security Chief Gorvin's massive hands clenched into fists. If they'd been hiding all this time, developing that technology in secret, the drones continued their silent observation, transmitting images of modified sensor arrays, reinforced hull plating, and what appear to be custom-designed defensive systems unlike standard human military specifications. "We need to determine what they're protecting," Commander Tavik decided. "Deploy the 4th drone with active scanning capabilities." The 4th drone, smaller than the others, moved directly toward the human vessel. Unlike its counterparts, this one carried sophisticated scanning equipment designed to penetrate standard shielding. The moment it activated its scanning array, the situation changed drastically. A pinpoint energy beam erupted from the human vessel, striking the drone with surgical precision. The drone didn't explode. It simply ceased functioning, its systems completely disabled. Simultaneously, a new message appeared. Final warning. Scanning attempts will be considered hostile action. This sector is under Terran protection for the safety of all species. Further intrusion will be met with appropriate response. Commander Tavik's compound eyes narrowed. Protection? From what? Before anyone could respond, the ship's sensors detected multiple small objects launching from the human vessel. "Evasive maneuvers," Tavik shouted, but the objects weren't weapons. They were autonomous jamming devices, creating a perimeter of signal interference around the human ship. "They're establishing a defensive boundary," Gorvin observed with grudging professional respect. "Classic human tactics, controlling the engagement space." Ambassador Solana's scales had shifted to an alarmed crimson. "This situation requires immediate diplomatic intervention. We should request a face-to-face meeting under neutral protocols." Commander Tavik nodded slowly. "Agreed. But I suspect our mysterious human captain won't make it easy." He drafted the message himself. "To the commander of the Terran vessel in Sector 9Ka, we request a diplomatic meeting to discuss your presence and claims of jurisdiction. We propose neutral envoys aboard your vessel or ours, under standard safety protocols. Your response will demonstrate your commitment to peaceful resolution." The response came faster this time. "Limited delegation acceptable. 3 representatives maximum. No weapons. Prepare for security scan upon arrival." Ambassador Solana's scales shimmered with cautious optimism. They've agreed. That's something. Security Chief Gorvin grunted. Or they're luring us into a trap. Commander Tavik studied the human vessel once more, noting how it maintained a position that allowed for rapid escape vectors if needed. We proceed with caution, he decided. Ambassador Solana will lead the delegation, with myself representing Orion interests and one security officer from Chief Gorvin's team. As preparations began for the diplomatic meeting, Commander Tavik received a priority transmission from Orion High Command. The contents are brief but alarming. Multiple species mobilizing observation vessels towards Sector 9KA. Proceed with extreme caution. Ancestral records suggest Task Force Omega's final mission involved artifact designation, Catalyst Core, technology believed capable of destabilizing space-time fabric. Verification Priority Alpha. Tavik closed the transmission, his exoskeleton feeling suddenly cold. The Catalyst Core was little more than a rumor in most military circles, a theoretical weapon of such power that most rational beings considered it mythological. If this lone human vessel was guarding such a device, the consequences of mishandling this encounter could be catastrophic. Captain Vasquez watched the approaching shuttle from the observation deck of the Phantom Reach. The small craft carried the 3 delegates from the Galactic Council Task Force, having passed through the Phantom Reach's extensive security scans. They'll have hidden scanning technology, she said to Commander Wei, who stood at her side. Nothing obvious enough to trigger our countermeasures, but they'll be gathering data from the moment they step aboard. Wei nodded. Security teams are positioned along the approved route. All sensitive areas are sealed with triple authentication. Protocols. The core chamber is locked down with the full containment field active. Vasquez's artificial eye adjusted, zooming in on the approaching shuttle. The Orion will be seeking military intelligence. The Valen will be evaluating our psychological state and looking for diplomatic leverage. The Gronari, she allowed herself a small smile. The Gronari will be counting our weapons and planning how to take the ship if ordered. Standard procedure for first contact with a potentially hostile vessel, Wei observed. We're not hostile, Vasquez corrected him. Just determined. As they made their way to the docking bay, Dr. Alden joined them, his expression troubled. Captain, the core's quantum fluctuations are increasing in frequency. Something about the approaching vessels, perhaps their engine configurations, is resonating with its energy signature. Vasquez maintained her pace. Increase buffer shielding. We need to complete this diplomatic farce quickly and get them off our ship. The docking bay doors opened to reveal the Galactic Council shuttle completing its landing sequence. Captain Vasquez straightened her uniform, a modified version of Terran naval dress, though lacking current insignia, and prepared to greet their visitors. The shuttle's hatch opened, and 3 figures emerged. The tall, insectoid form of the Orion commander, the graceful, scale-covered Valen ambassador, and a hulking Granari security officer whose massive frame barely fit through the shuttle's exit. Welcome aboard the TSV Phantom Reach. Vasquez greeted them formally. I'm Captain Eliana Vasquez. This is my executive officer, Commander Wei, and our chief science officer, Dr. Alden. The Valen ambassador stepped forward, her scales shifting to a diplomatic shade of violet. I'm Ambassador Solana of the Valen Confederacy. With me are Commander Tavik of the Orion Empire and Security Officer Drax of the Granari Protectorate. Formalities completed, Vasquez gestured toward the corridor. If you'll follow me, we've prepared a conference room for our discussion. As they walked, Commander Tavik studied their surroundings with obvious interest. Your vessel bears the markings of Task Force Omega, Captain Vasquez. A fleet believed destroyed 30 years ago. Vasquez neither confirmed nor denied. History is often complicated, Commander. The conference room was spartanly furnished, with a single oval table and environmental settings adjusted for the comfort of multiple species. Once seated, Ambassador Solana initiated the discussion. Captain Vasquez, your presence in this sector raises significant questions. You claim jurisdiction without registered authority. Your vessel matches no current Terran registry, but bears similarities to a fleet-long thought lost. The Galactic Council requires answers. Vasquez's expression remained neutral. My mission parameters remain classified under Terran Military Directive 773 Alpha. This ship is on a sanctioned research and containment operation. Commander Tavik leaned forward. Containment of what, Captain? A technological artifact of pre-expansion origin, Vasquez replied carefully. Its energy signature could be destabilizing if improperly handled. We're preparing it for secure transport to Earth. Security Officer Drax spoke for the first time, his deep voice rumbling through the room. If this artifact is of pre-expansion origin, it belongs under Galactic Council oversight, according to the Antiquities Charter. Vasquez's artificial eye gleamed. The artifact was discovered in uncharted space by a human expedition. Its containment technologies were developed by human scientists. Its security is our responsibility. Ambassador Solana's scales rippled thoughtfully. Perhaps a collaborative approach would benefit all species. The Council could provide additional resources, expertise from various scientific traditions. No, Vasquez's tone was final. The artifact cannot be exposed to unvetted technologies or methodologies. Its energy signature is reactive. As if to emphasize her point, the ship's lighting flickered briefly. Dr. Alden glanced at his datapad with concern. Commander Tavik's compound eyes narrowed. Captain, are you referring to the theoretical technology known as the catalyst core? The room temperature seemed to drop several degrees. Vasquez's expression hardened, but before she could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Commander Wei's communicator activated. Commander, multiple vessels approaching at high velocity. Non-council signatures. Ambassador Solana rose in alarm. We came alone. Those aren't our ships. Captain Vasquez was already moving toward the door. It seems word travels fast in empty sectors. Someone else is interested in our cargo. The conference room's wall screen activated, showing a formation of sleek, predatory vessels approaching rapidly. Their design was unmistakable to any experienced space. Traveler, Scavenger Guild, growled Security Officer Drax. Elite faction by the look of those vessels. The Scavenger Guild, an interspecies organization of technology hunters who operated in the gray areas of galactic law, was known for acquiring advanced technology by any means necessary, then selling to the highest bidder. How did they know? Demanded Commander Tavik. Vasquez's expression was grim. Information broker, most likely. Your task force's assembly wouldn't have gone unnoticed. The ship shuddered as the first volley from the approaching vessels impacted against its shields. Captain Vasquez activated the ship-wide communication system. Battle stations. Defensive protocols active. Protect the core chamber at all costs. To the delegation, she spoke with cold precision. You have a choice. Return to your shuttle immediately, or be prepared to assist in defending this vessel. If the scavengers obtain what we're protecting, the consequences will affect all species. Without waiting for their response, she strode from the room, followed closely by her officers. The delegates exchanged uncertain glances before Ambassador Solana made her decision. We should help them, she said firmly. Whatever they're guarding, it cannot be allowed to fall into scavenger hands. Commander Tavik hesitated only briefly before nodding. Agreed. If this truly is the catalyst core, its power in unregulated hands would be catastrophic. As they followed Captain Vasquez toward the bridge, the Phantom Reach banked sharply, evading another barrage from the scavenger vessels. Through viewports, they caught glimpses of space erupting with weapons fire. 1 against 6. The odds appeared insurmountable. Yet as they reached the bridge, they witnessed something unexpected. The human crew operated with practiced efficiency, their movements precise and coordinated as if they had drilled for this exact scenario countless times. Activate Defense Pattern Epsilon, ordered Vasquez calmly. Intermittent shield modulation. Deploy countermeasures. Small objects launched from the Phantom Reach, creating a field of sensor jamming interference that confused the targeting systems of the attacking ships. Meanwhile, The human vessel executed maneuvers that should have been impossible for a ship its size. Tight turns and sudden trajectory changes that spoke of advanced propulsion technology. Target lead vessel's propulsion systems, Vasquez commanded. Minimal yield, precision strike. A single beam lanced out from the Phantom Reach, striking the foremost scavenger ship with surgical accuracy. Rather than exploding, the vessel's engines simply went dark, leaving it drifting helplessly. Impressive targeting, murmured Security Officer Drax. Commander Tavik watched with professional assessment. They're using non-standard tactics, disabling rather than destroying, controlling the battlefield. Two more scavenger vessels moved to flank the Phantom Reach, but the human ship released a cloud of what appeared to be metallic dust. As the particles spread, they began generating a web of energy discharges that scrambled the scavenger's navigation systems. Space mines? Ambassador Selena asked, incredulous. Energy field disruptors, corrected Dr. Alden, who had joined them on the bridge. Temporary effect, but effective. Despite the Phantom Reach's impressive defensive capabilities, the situation remained dire. The scavengers adjusted their tactics, coordinating their attacks to overwhelm the human vessel's defenses from multiple vectors. Captain, reported a bridge officer, shield integrity at 67% and dropping. Two scavenger vessels are positioning for boarding action. Vasquez's expression remained unchanged. Activate internal defense systems. Seal all bulkheads leading to the core chamber. Commander Wei approached urgently. Captain, the core is becoming unstable. The energy from the weapon's fire is causing quantum resonance fluctuations. For the first time, real concern showed in Vasquez's expression. How long until critical? 30 minutes, maybe less, Wei replied grimly. Vasquez turned to the Galactic Council representatives. Your task force vessels are still nearby. We need their assistance. Commander Tavik didn't hesitate. He activated his communication device. This is Commander Tavik to all Council vessels. The human ship is under attack by Scavenger Guild forces. The target is a dangerous technological artifact, requesting immediate combat support. As he spoke, Dr. Alden's monitoring equipment emitted a shrill alarm. Captain, significant power surge from the core chamber. On the main view screen, a ripple of energy visibly distorted space around the Phantom Reach. The attacking scavenger vessels faltered, their systems momentarily disrupted by the phenomenon. What was that? Demanded Security Officer Drax. Captain Vasquez exchanged a grave look with Dr. Alden before answering. A warning. The catalyst core is reacting to the conflict. Its power is growing unstable. This core, what exactly does it do? Ambassador Selena asked, her scales paling to an ashen gray. It was designed as a form of spatial manipulation technology, Dr. Alden explained reluctantly. In theory, it can alter the fundamental properties of space-time within a localized field. If fully activated, intentionally or accidentally, it could create a cascading reaction that would tear apart the fabric of space in this entire sector. Commander Tavik's mandibles clicked in alarm. And you've been transporting this device? The risk of leaving it unattended was greater, Vasquez interrupted sharply. It was deteriorating in its original location. We had no choice but to move it to a facility where it could be properly contained. The ship shuddered again as another volley struck its shields. On the view screen, they could see the Council task force vessels moving to engage the scavengers. But two enemy ships had broken through, closing rapidly on the Phantom Reach. Captain, Commander Wei called out, we're receiving a transmission from the lead scavenger vessel. The view screen shifted to show a lean, cybernetically enhanced humanoid. Multiple species influences were evident in their physiology, a common trait among longtime scavengers who frequently augmented themselves with technology from various cultures. Captain Vasquez, the scavenger leader's voice was artificially modulated to a perfect, unsettling calm. I am Coordinator Vex of the Acquisition Vanguard. Surrender the catalyst core, and your crew will be permitted to evacuate before we claim your vessel. Vasquez's response was ice cold. The core cannot be moved in its current state. Any attempt to breach its containment will trigger a catastrophic reaction. The scavenger leader's augmented eyes gleamed. We've been monitoring its energy signature for months. We have the technology to stabilize and transport it. The core's potential is wasted in the hands of single-species authorities. Think of what humanity alone will do with such power. The same could be said of any species, Ambassador Selana interjected, which is precisely why such technology must remain under neutral oversight. Coordinator Vex's expression hardened. Diplomacy is a luxury we cannot afford. The core's potential transcends political concerns. Its applications could revolutionize space travel, energy production, or weaponization. Commander Tavik finished grimly. The transmission abruptly ended as the Phantom Reach rocked from a powerful impact. Alarms blared throughout the ship. "Hull breach on Deck 6, reported a crew member. "Boarding parties detected." Vasquez's reaction was immediate. "Security teams to Deck 6. Commander Way, begin emergency core stabilization procedures. Dr. Alden, prepare the containment field for maximum output." To Security Officer Drax, she added, "Your combat experience would be valuable if you're willing to assist our security teams." The massive Granari nodded grimly. "Point the way." As Drax departed with a security detail, Vasquez turned to Commander Tavik and Ambassador Selana. "I need your ships to focus fire on the scavenger vessels attempting to dock with us. Every moment they delay gives us time to stabilize the core." The delegates quickly relayed the orders to their respective vessels. On the view screen, they watched as the Council ships engaged the scavengers with renewed purpose. "Captain," Dr. Alden called from his station, "the core's quantum matrix is approaching critical fluctuation levels. If we don't reduce the energy output soon, containment will fail." Vasquez's artificial eye gleamed with sudden resolution. "We need to mask its energy signature. Prepare to vent plasma from the auxiliary reactors. Create a radiation cloud dense enough to obscure the core's emissions." As her crew rushed to implement her orders, the ship's internal communication system crackled with urgent reports of firefights erupting throughout the lower decks. The scavengers were pushing toward the core chamber with single-minded determination. Commander Way approached Vasquez, his expression grave. "Captain, even if we repel boarders and drive off the scavenger vessels, the core is becoming too unstable. We may need to consider alternative solutions." The unspoken implication hung heavily in the air. Vasquez nodded almost imperceptibly. "Prepare the Omega Protocol," she said quietly. "Authorization." Vasquez Echo 7-3. Way's face paled, but he nodded and moved to a secured terminal to begin the necessary preparations. Ambassador Selana observed the exchange with growing concern. "Captain Vasquez, what is this Omega Protocol?" Before Vasquez could answer, the ship's security network displayed footage from multiple decks showing the advancing scavenger boarding parties. Despite fierce resistance from the Phantom Reach's crew, the intruders were making steady progress, their superior numbers and specialized boarding equipment giving them a significant advantage. "We're losing ground," Vasquez acknowledged grimly. "If they reach the core chamber—" She didn't need to finish the thought. Everyone on the bridge understood the catastrophic implications. Commander Tavik stepped forward. "Captain, request permission to contact Orion High Command. If the situation is as dire as it appears, we may need to evacuate this entire sector." Vasquez hesitated only briefly before nodding. As Tavik moved to establish a secure communication channel, a violent tremor shook the ship, stronger than any weapon's impact. That came from within. Dr. Alden exclaimed, eyes fixed on his monitoring equipment. The core's containment field just experienced a significant power surge. On the internal security feeds, they watched as a wave of energy rippled through the corridors near the core chamber. Scavenger boarding parties caught in its path collapsed instantly, their systems overloaded. Even some of the Phantom Reach's crew were affected, though less severely. "It's defending itself," Vasquez murmured, almost to herself. just like the ancient record suggested. Ambassador Solana's scales had shifted to a deep, alarmed purple. The core is sentient, not sentient, Dr. Alden corrected, his fingers flying across his console as he attempted to stabilize the readings. But it appears to react to perceived threats. The technology is so advanced that it exhibits behaviors that mimic awareness. Another tremor shook the ship, accompanied by fluctuating gravity and momentary power failures throughout the vessel. "Captain," exclaimed a bridge officer, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth Command. Priority Alpha." Vasquez moved quickly to the communications console. "Put it through. Security encryption Theta." The view screen shifted to show the stern face of Admiral Harrison, commander of Terran Special Operations. His appearance was unexpected enough to momentarily silence the bridge. "Captain Vasquez." The Admiral's voice was tense but controlled. "Our deep space monitors detected core fluctuations. Status report. Under attack by Scavenger Guild forces," Vasquez replied crisply. "Boarding parties attempting to reach the core chamber. Containment becoming unstable. Omega Protocol is being prepared." The Admiral's expression darkened. "Negative on Omega Protocol, Captain. Reinforcements are inbound to your position. Task Force Sentinel launched from Outpost Gamma 6 upon detection of the initial energy spike. ETA 17 minutes. Commander Tavik and Ambassador Solana exchanged shocked glances. Outpost Gamma 6 was supposedly an abandoned research station. The existence of a hidden Terran military deployment there violated at least 3 interspecies treaties. 17 minutes may be too late, Admiral, Vasquez countered. The core's quantum matrix is approaching critical instability. Then you'll execute Emergency Protocol Lambda instead, the Admiral ordered. The core is too valuable to lose, Captain. Those are your orders. Before Vasquez could respond, the transmission abruptly terminated as another surge from the core disrupted the ship's communications array. "What is Protocol Lambda?" Ambassador Solana demanded, her diplomatic reserve finally cracking under the pressure of the situation. Vasquez's face was grim as she turned to Dr. Alden. "Prepare the emergency stabilization sequence. We're going to channel the core's excess energy through the ship's main deflector." Dr. Alden's eyes widened. "Captain, that could burn out our entire propulsion system. We'd be stranded." "Better stranded than atomized," Vasquez replied sharply. "Begin preparations." Commander Way approached, his expression troubled. "Captain, security reports that the scavengers have breached level 8. They're 2 decks away from the core chamber." Vasquez made her decision. "Commander Tavik, Ambassador Solana, your vessels need to withdraw to minimum safe distance. Now." Ambassador Solana's scales rippled with alarm. "You're going to trigger the core deliberately?" "Not trigger it. Redirect its building energy surge in a controlled manner," Vasquez clarified. "But the process will create a localized spatial distortion that could damage nearby vessels." Commander Tavik's compound eyes narrowed with suspicion. "This could be a ploy to ensure we can't claim the core technology." "Think what you want, Commander," Vasquez snapped. "But in approximately 12 minutes, the energy building within the core will discharge one way or another. I'm trying to ensure it doesn't take this entire sector with it." The ship shuddered again as weapons fire from the remaining scavenger vessels impacted against its weakening shields. "Captain," called out a tactical officer. 2 more scavenger ships just dropped out of FTL. At the edge of the sector, on the view screen, they watched as the newcomers immediately engaged the Council vessels, which had been focusing their fire on the ships attacking the Phantom Reach. "Reinforcements," Vasquez muttered grimly. "They must want the core badly." The situation was deteriorating rapidly. Between the external attack, internal borders, and the increasingly unstable core, the Phantom Reach faced imminent destruction. Commander Way approached Vasquez, speaking in a low voice. "Captain, Security Officer Drax is holding the last checkpoint before the core chamber, but they can't maintain position much longer. And Dr. Alden reports the redirection preparations will take at least 10 minutes to complete." "We don't have 10 minutes," Vasquez stated flatly. She stood silent for a moment, weighing impossible choices. Then her artificial eye gleamed with sudden resolution. "New plan," she announced. "Commander Wei, activate the emergency transponder array. Broadcast on all frequencies, including the old Shadow War emergency band." Wei looked startled. "Captain, that will reveal our position to every monitoring station within 50 light years." "Exactly," Vasquez confirmed. "And it will tell our reinforcements exactly where to find us." She turned to Dr. Alden. "Prepare for emergency core transfer. We're going to move it." "Move it?" Alden looked aghast. "Captain, the containment field isn't stable enough for transport." "Not conventional transport," Vasquez clarified. "We're going to use the emergency teleportation system." The bridge fell silent. The emergency teleportation system had been developed during the Shadow War, a last resort technology designed to move critical personnel or materials off a doomed vessel. Its power requirements were enormous, and the process was notoriously unreliable for anything larger than a few cubic meters. "The core is too large for the teleportation buffer," Dr. Alden protested. "Not if we reconfigure the buffer to handle only its essential components," Vasquez countered. "Strip away the outer containment layers and focus on the central matrix." Commander Tavik stepped forward. "Captain Vasquez, if you're planning to teleport this core to another location, the Galactic Council must be informed of its destination." Vasquez fixed him with a cold stare. "With all due respect, Commander, the Council's authority doesn't extend to Terran classified technology, especially not when scavenger boarding parties are fighting their way through my ship." As if to emphasize her point, the ship's security feed showed Security Officer Drax and the remaining defenders falling back from their position outside the core chamber, overwhelmed by a fresh wave of scavenger troops. "We're out of time," Vasquez declared. "Commander Wei, begin emergency evacuation procedures for all non-essential personnel. Dr. Alden, prepare the core for emergency transport. Ambassador, Commander, I strongly suggest you return to your vessels immediately." "Ambassador," Selena hesitated. "Captain, whatever the core truly is, its power affects all species. The Council should have oversight." "The Council can file a formal protest after we've prevented a catastrophic spatial rupture," Vasquez interrupted. "Right now, my priority is keeping that technology out of scavenger hands and preventing it from destabilizing this entire sector." Commander Tavik's mandibles clicked with frustration, but he recognized the futility of further argument. "Very well, Captain, but this matter is far from settled." As the galactic representatives prepared to depart, the Phantom Reach rocked violently from another impact. Emergency lighting activated as primary power fluctuated throughout the ship. "Direct hit to engineering," reported a crew member. "Shield generators failing." Vasquez moved decisively to the command console. "All power to containment fields around the core chamber. Deploy remaining security teams to delay the boarders." On the view screen, space around the embattled vessels suddenly rippled with energy distortions. For a moment, Vasquez feared the core had begun to destabilize beyond their ability to control, but then she saw them. 5 Terran warships emerged from faster-than-light travel, their sleek, predatory forms immediately recognizable to anyone familiar with human military design. Unlike the aging Phantom Reach, these were modern vessels, the pride of Earth's fleet, rarely seen beyond the established human defense perimeter. Task Force Sentinel, Vasquez identified with visible relief. Right on schedule, the newly arrived Terran vessels wasted no time engaging the scavenger ships. Their weapons were precisely targeted, disabling propulsion and weapon systems with surgical precision while avoiding critical damage that might endanger crews. "Captain," Commander Wei called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the lead vessel." The view screen shifted to show a stern-faced human captain. "TSV Phantom Reach, this is Captain Reeves of the TSV Vigilant Dawn. Admiral Harrison sends his regards. Hold position. We'll clear the hostiles." As Task Force Sentinel engaged the scavenger vessels, drawing them away from the damaged Phantom Reach, Vasquez turned her attention to the internal situation. "Status of the core?" she demanded. Dr. Alden looked up from his console, his expression grave. Containment field holding, but barely. The quantum fluctuations are increasing in frequency and amplitude. We need to execute the emergency transport immediately. Vasquez nodded. Prepare the teleportation system. Target coordinates. Classified storage facility Omega 9. Commander Wei approached, speaking quietly. Captain, the scavenger boarding parties have breached the outer security perimeter of the core chamber. They'll reach the containment field in minutes. Vasquez's face hardened. We need to buy time. She activated the ship-wide communication system. All hands, this is the captain. Execute protocol, Zeta. Throughout the ship, crew members responded to the rarely used command with practiced efficiency. Emergency bulkheads slammed into place, compartmentalizing the vessel. Atmospheric pressure fluctuated in specific sections, disorienting the boarders. And most importantly, the ship's internal defense systems activated. Non-lethal but highly effective countermeasures designed to incapacitate hostile boarding parties. On the view screen, they watched as Task Force Sentinel methodically disabled the scavenger vessels. 3 were already adrift, their propulsion and weapons systems rendered inoperable. The remaining ships were attempting to retreat, but the superior speed and maneuverability of the Terran warships made escape unlikely. Captain, reported Dr. Alden, teleportation system configured and ready. But there's a problem. The core's mass is fluctuating due to the quantum instability. The targeting system can't establish a lock. Vasquez frowned. Manual override. We'll have to time the transport to coincide with a moment of relative stability. That's extremely risky, Alden warned. If we initiate transport during a fluctuation spike, the spatial distortion could... I'm aware of the risks, Doctor, Vasquez interrupted. Proceed with preparations. The ship shuddered again, but this time not from weapons impact. The core's increasing instability was affecting the surrounding space. Captain, Commander Wei called urgently. Security feed shows the scavengers have reached the main core chamber. They're attempting to bypass the containment field. Vasquez's decision was immediate. Initiate transport. Now. Dr. Alden hesitated only briefly before entering the command sequence. The ship's power levels dropped dramatically as the teleportation system drew enormous energy for the transport process. On the security feed, they watched as the scavengers breached the final security barrier and rushed into the core chamber, only to find the containment field collapsing around an empty space where the core had been. The teleportation was successful, but its effects were immediate and dramatic. A wave of spatial distortion erupted from the empty containment field, washing over the scavenger boarding team. They collapsed instantly, their neural systems overloaded by the quantum backlash. Transport complete, Dr. Alden confirmed, though his expression remained concerned. The core's primary matrix has been secured at Facility Omega 9, but the residual energy signature is still present in our systems. We need to purge it before. His warning was cut short as the ship's remaining power systems fluctuated wildly. Consoles sparked, and emergency lighting flickered throughout the bridge. Quantum echo effect, Alden explained hurriedly. The core's energy signature has left an imprint in our systems. Vasquez turned to her communications officer. Signal Task Force Sentinel. Request immediate evacuation of all personnel. The Phantom Reach was dying. With its primary power systems damaged by the scavenger attack and the secondary systems overloaded by the emergency teleportation, the aging vessel couldn't sustain life support for much longer. As evacuation orders spread throughout the ship, Vasquez remained on the bridge, coordinating the retreat. The security feeds showed her crew moving efficiently toward the escape pods and shuttles, while the incapacitated scavenger boarding parties were secured by security teams. Outside, Task Force Sentinel had disabled or driven off all hostile vessels. 2 of the Terran warships moved alongside the Phantom Reach, extending docking tubes to facilitate rapid evacuation. Commander Wei approached Vasquez. Captain, the last evacuation shuttles are launching now. You need to leave as well. Vasquez nodded slowly. Almost done. I need to initiate the final security protocol. Wei understood immediately. The ship's data core. Everything we've learned about the catalyst core is stored in the main computer, Vasquez confirmed. If the scavengers salvage the wreck. I understand, Wei said quietly. He hesitated, then added, "It's been an honor, Captain." Vasquez allowed herself a small smile. "Likewise, Commander. Now go. I'll be right behind you." As Wei departed, Vasquez moved to the Central Command console and entered her authorization code. The computer responded with a request for final confirmation of the data purge protocol. "Captain Vasquez," a voice spoke from behind her. "I wouldn't do that if I were you." She turned to find Coordinator Vex, the scavenger leader, standing in the bridge entrance. Despite the ship's internal defense systems, he had somehow reached the command center. His cybernetic implants sparked occasionally, suggesting he'd sustained damage, but his augmented hand held a weapon pointed steadily at Vasquez. "The core may be gone," Vex said calmly, "but the data on how to use it is almost as valuable." Step away from the console. Vasquez remained where she stood. "The core is too dangerous to be used as a weapon, Coordinator. Its power was never meant to be harnessed that way." Vex's artificial eyes gleamed. "Every technological breakthrough in history has been too dangerous until someone was brave enough to master it. The core could end energy scarcity across the galaxy. It could revolutionize space travel. It could tear apart the fabric of space-time if improperly handled," Vasquez finished for him. "Which is why it won't be auctioned to the highest bidder by the Scavenger Guild." Vex took a step forward, his weapon unwavering. "I don't want to kill you, Captain, but I will if necessary. The data in your ship's computer is too valuable to destroy." Vasquez's artificial eye gleamed as she studied the scavenger leader. "You know what's interesting about Task Force Omega, Coordinator? We were always prepared for the worst-case scenario." Before Vex could respond, Vasquez pressed a concealed control on her uniform. Throughout the dying ship, small charges detonated simultaneously, not enough to destroy the vessel, but precisely targeted to destroy specific systems, including the main computer core. Vex fired in fury, but Vasquez had already dropped behind the console. The energy bolt struck harmlessly against the reinforced material. "You fool," Vex snarled. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" "Exactly what I was ordered to do 30 years ago," Vasquez replied calmly. "Protect the core at all costs." The ship shuddered violently, emergency klaxons blaring as the last power systems began to fail. "This vessel will lose life support in approximately 3 minutes, Vasquez informed him. "I suggest we both make our way to the evacuation points." Vex's cybernetic face contorted with rage, but self-preservation won out. Without another word, he turned and disappeared into the corridor. Vasquez waited until he was gone before emerging from cover. She moved quickly to a secondary console and entered one final command. A message to be transmitted to Earth Command, confirming the successful relocation of the core and the destruction of all research data aboard the Phantom Reach. As she made her way to the last evacuation shuttle, Captain Vasquez took a final look at the bridge where she had served for so many years. The Phantom Reach had been her home, her mission, her purpose. Now it would become another ghost, a silent sentinel adrift in the emptiness of Sector 9KA. The shuttle detached from the dying vessel, joining a formation of escape craft being collected by Task Force Sentinel. From this distance, Vasquez could see the full extent of the damage the Phantom Reach had sustained. It would never fly again, but it had fulfilled its purpose. The core was safe. On the bridge of the TSV Vigilant Dawn, Captain Vasquez stood before a communication screen, delivering her final report to Admiral Harrison. "The catalyst core has been secured at Facility Omega 9, she confirmed. "All research data from the Phantom Reach has been purged as per Protocol Omega." The Admiral nodded approvingly. "Casualties? Minimal," Vasquez reported. 7 injured during the boarding action, no fatalities. The scavenger forces suffered similar numbers. And the Galactic Council representatives? Returned to their vessels before the evacuation. They're demanding explanations, of course. The Admiral's expression hardened. They'll receive the official statement. Task Force Omega was conducting authorized research on ancient technology of Terran origin. No interspecies treaties were violated. They won't believe that, Vasquez noted. They don't need to believe it. They just need to accept that pursuing the matter further would be diplomatically challenging. Vasquez understood. The presence of Task Force Sentinel, ships that most non-humans believed were confined to Earth's defense perimeter, had sent a clear message about humanity's capabilities and resolve. What about the scavengers? She asked. Their disabled vessels are being towed to neutral space, the Admiral replied. Standard procedure. Though I suspect the Scavenger Guild will think twice before targeting Terran installations again. Vasquez nodded, then hesitated before asking her final question. And the Corps, sir? What happens now? Admiral Harrison's expression became unreadable. The Corps will be studied under controlled conditions at Facility Omega 9. Its energy signature has been masked to prevent detection. As far as the galaxy is concerned, it was destroyed in the battle. With respect, Admiral, the Corps' power is unpredictable. Even our most advanced containment technologies barely kept it stable. Which is precisely why humanity must understand it before anyone else does, Harrison countered. Imagine if the scavengers had succeeded. Or worse, if a major military power like the Orion Empire had claimed it. Vasquez couldn't argue with that logic, but concerns still nagged at her. The Council will increase surveillance of Terran activities after this incident. Let them, Harrison said dismissively. They'll find nothing but routine operations. Meanwhile, your new assignment awaits. Vasquez raised an eyebrow. New assignment, sir? Task Force Sentinel requires an experienced commander, someone who understands the sensitive nature of our more classified operations. Despite everything she had endured, Vasquez felt a surge of pride. Command of Task Force Sentinel was one of the highest honors in the Terran fleet. I accept, Admiral. Harrison nodded with satisfaction. The Vigilant Dawn is yours, Captain. Your first mission orders are being transmitted now. Priority level, Alpha. As the communication ended, Vasquez turned to gaze out at the stars. Sector 9Ka was visible in the distance, a seemingly empty region of space that had briefly become the focal point of galactic tensions. Commander Wei joined her at the viewport. Orders, Captain. Vasquez's artificial eye gleamed as she contemplated the vastness before them. Prepare for departure, Commander. We have work to do. In the Orion Imperial Command Center, Commander Tavik delivered his report to the High Council. His account of the Sector 9Ka incident was meticulously detailed, yet he knew certain elements would be received with skepticism. You claim this single human vessel held off multiple scavenger ships until reinforcements arrived. Counselor Thraz questioned incredulously. I witnessed it personally, Tavik confirmed. Their defensive capabilities exceeded any known specifications for a vessel of that class and age. And this, Catalyst Core, Council Chairman Crosstown mused. You believe it truly exists? The evidence suggests it does, Tavik replied carefully. The energy readings we detected were unlike anything in our scientific records, and the human's determination to protect it speaks volumes. The council members exchanged troubled glances. If such technology exists, Counselor Vexlier noted, it could shift the balance of power throughout the galaxy, which is precisely why the humans concealed it for 30 years, Tavik pointed out, and why they were willing to sacrifice an entire ship to prevent it from falling into unauthorized hands. Chairman Crostal's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. Perhaps we have underestimated the humans' technological advancement. Their containment within their defensive perimeter may have led us to false assumptions about their capabilities. I recommend increased surveillance of human space, Tavik suggested, and perhaps a diplomatic initiative to address the Treaty of Vexor violations. Cautiously, the chairman qualified. The appearance of their advanced warships in Sector 9Ka was a deliberate message, one we would be foolish to ignore. As the council meeting adjourned, Commander Tavik remained, studying the star chart where Sector 9Ka had been highlighted. The empty sector no longer seemed insignificant. It had become a symbol of humanity's unpredictability and resolve. His communications officer approached with a data tablet. "Commander, we're receiving reports from monitoring stations throughout the neighboring sectors. Unusual spatial distortions have been detected, similar to those observed during the incident." Tabak's compound eyes narrowed. "The Corps' effects linger, it seems. Maintain surveillance, but keep our vessels at a safe distance." As word of the Sector 9 Ka incident spread throughout the galaxy, it became something of a cautionary tale among spacefaring species. The details grew increasingly distorted with each retelling, but the essential message remained constant: underestimate humans at your peril. In diplomatic circles, the official explanation was accepted with public politeness and private skepticism. The Galactic Council filed formal protests regarding treaty violations, which Earth's representatives acknowledged and dismissed with practiced political maneuvering. Meanwhile, deep within the classified facility designated Omega-9, the Catalyst Core continued its mysterious existence, studied by the brightest minds humanity could assemble. Its secrets unfolded slowly, revealing possibilities that were both wondrous and terrifying. And in the emptiness of Sector 9 Ka, the abandoned hull of the TSV Phantom Reach drifted silently among the stars, a monument to a mission that had lasted 30 years and a reminder of the secrets that still lay hidden in the vastness of space. Throughout the galaxy, ship captains approaching Sector 9K developed a new protocol. They checked their sensors twice, wary of unexpected encounters. Because as the incident had proven, you never knew when a human ship might be exactly where it wasn't supposed to be. There are things humanity does not wish to remember, but if forced, they will show you why you never corner a species that has already survived its own extinction more than once.